There's been discussions about UBI over the past number of decades, and then has obviously increased in the last few months with COVID-19, since so many companies have stopped paying people. People have needed an alternative source of income. So with a UBI, if we were in this situation, people would just continue to get their universal basic income. It would be enough to pay their bills. It would be enough to keep them above the poverty line. On the one hand, you're seeing so much money being thrown at dealing with the economic crisis that COVID has thrown up anyways, that people are thinking UBI is supposed to be so expensive, it's supposed to be unaffordable, and yet in the midst of this crisis, we're throwing all this money to do effectively the same thing, to provide people a basic income.
UBI is often thought of as being unaffordable. But this is because estimates often just multiply the size of the UBI by the eligible population of a country. In reality, it would cost much less than this. Imagine a room with 15 people who want to set up a UBI for the room of $2 per person. The apparent upfront cost of the policy would be $30. But the 10 richest people in the room are asked to contribute $3 each towards funding it. After they each put in $3, raising the total $30 needed, every person in the room gets their $2 universal basic income. Because the 10 richest people in the room contributed $3 and then got $2 back in UBI, their real net contribution is actually $1 each, so the real cost of the UBI is $10. Other models suggest that money used to fund current welfare systems would almost cover the costs.
And one of the things that I'm interested in is health. And so in many of the schemes, we find that there's improved health, and especially mental health, coming as a result of people receiving a universal basic income.
Why do you think mental health is improved with UBI?
I think there's a number of reasons. The first is simply getting people out of poverty and the stresses that are associated with poverty. With that sort of stress, scientists see how that has an impact on the endocrine system in the body and causes damage that can lead to depression and anxiety and other mental health problems. Similarly, UBI helps to reduce inequality in societies. This is because it's universal. It goes to everybody, and it helps people to achieve social mobility. So if someone thinks that they can't go back to university, or if someone wants to start their own business or endeavor upon an artistic or entrepreneurial career, at least they have that basic income to get them through that. And then finally, I think, and this is something that's emerged recently with respect to COVID-19, is that it helps people in terms of social isolation. So rather than just staying at home and hoping that the welfare check comes in, if everyone gets UBI, that kind of takes a lot of that stigma away and that some of the shame. And in terms of health, we have this idea of diseases of despair, the alcoholism, addictions, mental health problems that are associated with people who feel trapped and hopeless in their current economic and social situations.
One of the main concerns people have about introducing a UBI is that people would take advantage of the scheme and not be motivated to find work. However, there's been little evidence from trials that this is the case.
There's a pretty small number of people who don't want to make a difference, who don't want to be productive in some way, shape, or form. It can be difficult for some to get to that point, but we need to be able to provide them the help to get there.
COVID-19 and associated job insecurity has rekindled the idea, but the concept of a UBI is not new. First written about by Thomas More in his book Utopia in 1516, there have been numerous trial schemes around the world. In the 1970s, US President Nixon nearly introduced a variant of the basic income. However, the pilots were inconclusive and the scheme was scrapped at the last minute. In the 21st century, due to an economic crash, the automation of jobs, and now a worldwide pandemic, a financial safety net is seen to be needed more than ever, and interest has surged. A trial that took place in Finland found participants to be more satisfied with their lives and experience less mental strain, depression, sadness, and loneliness.
If you look at the cost of mental health, it's absolutely astronomical. It's such a major burden that we all have to face, not just in financial terms, but in emotional and social terms. And we're not very good at preventing mental illness. We tend to focus much more on treating it, and yet that's not the efficient way of doing it. So I think with experiments like the Finland one demonstrating that there have been positive outcomes in terms of mental health, that's one really clear thing to measure in future pilots to see if it does have this benefit, and demonstrating that this can make a major financial benefit to societies. Some of the mental health and health benefits could really be the thing that gets it across the line.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and hit the bell button below for notifications.